pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to advise those present that notice of this regular meeting of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken has been provided to the public in accordance with provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act. Notice of this regular monthly January board meeting was given by publication of the annual meeting notice of the authority with amendments as necessary. Was sent to the Jersey Journal and Star Ledger on Tuesday, December 31st, 2024, and sent to the City Clerk of Hoboken on Tuesday, December 31st, 2024, with a copy of the agenda to be posted on both bulletin board in City Hall, Hoboken Library, and Hoboken Police Department, and posted on the Authority website on Tuesday, December 31st, 2024. I direct the minutes of this meeting to state that I have announced that adequate notice of this meeting has been given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. Public question.
Roll call.
Roll call, yes.
David Edwards.
Present.
Anthony Forbes. Is Rev up there?
No, I'm not seeing him.
Barbara Reyes.
Here.
Jean Rodriguez.
She's unmuted.
Yep. You're on mute, Jean.
Jeannie, you're on mute.
He's here.
Here.
Can the record show she's on Zoom?
There she is.
Oh, there you go.
You hear, Jeannie?
Yes, dear.
Okay.
There we go.
Michael Russo.
Here.
James Sanford. Erica Seitzman.
Present.
Public questions? So before we start, I just want to remind everyone, first of all, Happy New Year to everyone. Everyone has 5 minutes to speak. We just ask that you be respectful of your peers, the staff, as well as the commissioners, okay? So 5 minutes. The first person would be Jorge Muriel.
Can you please spell your name for the record?
And please speak into the microphone.
My name is Jorge Muriel, Jorgemuriel. Now may I speak? Okay, I'm here because we've been having problems in this building for the longest. For over 2 years, we've been asking for cameras, or at least in the elevators, and they've been jerking us around. Enough is enough. They could afford a TV to show what they're doing downtown and what they're not doing down here. They're doing nothing for us. The ladies are scared to get in the elevator because some of them have been assaulted because there's no camera. And they tell them, bring me 2 more people. What, they're going to wait for 2 more people to get assaulted or insulted in the elevator? That's not right. And my second thing is to Mr. Recco. When somebody goes to you, you talk to 2 parties, not only one. Because you took a story from one person and you forgot about the building. And it don't work like that because you got people here that like you. I like you, but you treated me bad because I called you for a meeting and you never answered. And for the record, they elected me for president. I was supposed to put a vice president and they told me no. They said, I go to the meetings alone because they don't want me to have a vice president because they wanted to give me a vice president that I didn't want. That person never came up to me and asked me to be a vice president. And that's not fair for the people. And if Carmen keeps on getting on your head and talking the wrong thing, you should have called a meeting, an emergency meeting with the tenants that day. And you only took her story. You didn't take our story. When Jamie was gonna throw a party here for New Year's, she lied to you and you believed her. Because the party was not only for this building, we were inviting the other buildings too. And I don't know, for some reason, you're neglecting the people from here. And I got papers, which I'm gonna mail to the governor, not a state councilor, how you call him? The new one that took Melendez's place. Congressman. We're gonna send him a letter. We're gonna send 2 letters to the TV station in a week. If I don't get an answer in a week, those letters are going down. Because if you could afford a $1,000 TV, why can you not afford 2 cameras in the elevators, which cost not even $500? Okay? You always say, we don't have the funds. You don't have funds, but you got funds to put a TV there. So people look at it, and nobody looks at it. We need action now, and we need it before a week, because I'm gonna mail these letters. I got letters that I gave to Brian Stark 2 years ago. He sent it to the mayor, and the mayor did nothing either. So we had enough. We're gonna move forward, and now that they elected me president, I'm gonna do the best I can for them. And Mike, I wanted him to be our vice president, because he's done a lot for us, for this building, and they don't want him. They want me to run alone and go to the meetings alone. I don't care, I can do it. I'm not Carmen. I fight for the people. And the reason they didn't want him, because he was always fighting and screaming out right here. And that's why they don't want him. It's not that I wanted to run, they wanted me to run. And that's what I gotta say. Think about it, because I am gonna move forward. I'm gonna give these letters to who needs to.
Hello, my name is Sherry, S-H-E-R. My name is Sherry, S-H-E-R-R-I-E, Shahat, S-H-A-H-A-T. I just wanted to inform you that there's some kind of problem in the mailroom. A couple of times I had to come into the TV room where the mail lady was and tell her the whole line of the mailboxes are wide open. And I found that several times. Unfortunately, I'm a victim of that. She had put my ID card, DMV card in the mailbox. I went with her to get it and it wasn't there. And sometimes it's half open and sometimes it's all the way open. I don't know how it's happening. I'm not complaining on anybody. I'm just saying that it's been open and anybody can reach right in and take anybody's mail. So I just wanted to inform you of that. Thank you. You're welcome.
Evelyn Madera.
Good evening. E-V-E-L-Y-N-M-A-D-E-R-A, Evelyn Madera. It took me a long time to get here. First, Mr. Greco and Murcher, Frank Murcher, are aware of my situation where I live at, okay? I personally wrote to the state, Washington, D.C., because you keep on saying, we're going to do this for Columbia Drive, for Columbia here, for Columbia, and nothing was done. I made a video, and like that gentleman over there, I do not threat, I don't say I'm going to give you a week, I execute things, okay? Now my apartment is being flooded by the lady that you claim that I wanted her evicted from her unit, when the only thing I asked you was, bring me to a lower floor. That's it. She claimed domestic dispute. Now, I know for a fact that the city of Hoboken is not going to put themselves out there to say this lady had domestic dispute when it was 15 years ago. She has a man in her house with 3 kids, okay? And my quality of life is being affected. My family's life is being affected. And for you, and you, Michael Russo, to disregard Almighty God, the disabled law, you should be ashamed of yourself. Because you said you needed to do a favor, quote unquote. And Michael, you said, oh, because she was domestic dispute, I left it alone. Never looked into it. Now, I have a son who's filled with rashes because of the urine I have to put up with the lady upstairs, the vulgarity that comes out of her mouth, racist against Puerto Ricans, black, you name it, and everything else. And I would like to know, Mr. Russo, did you execute what I told you, that Mr. Frank Murch, with the site manager at that time and the maintenance department, came to intimidate a disabled family? And I have it on video. You never got back to me. And you should be ashamed of yourself because you're from the 3rd district and you don't do anything for that 3rd district. Okay? Everybody loves you. I was a better friend to you than you were to me. And I never asked you for nothing. Not even money when you were running your campaign or anything else. And I was going to go to the city council, but I came here first because I want to see what Mr. Greco has to tell me in reference to the tenant. She stops, she continues, she stops, she continues. I feel bad for Danny. Danny got to go to my home at 11, 12 o'clock. Put his knees on the floor to clean my bathroom because I can't do it. Because I got to be running around for whoever's in my apartment. And I don't get a ring, oh, Evelyn, I'm so sorry. No, this lady doesn't care. And there was a reason why Robert DeVinson did not give her a transfer. She had a problem with the lady on 6C who had to be moved to A Street. You came and you claimed that you gave me transfer. You gave me transfers. All right? You never offered me a transfer. And the transfer that you did offer me, the lady was still living in that apartment. And I would never move to another building. I used to be in that building. That building is disgusting compared to the one I am. And the quality of life of my son is not going to be affected because you want to move me out either to downtown for projects, where I came from, or to another building. Now, I don't want to go back to a dark place where I was when I came out of the 4 projects. When I moved in here, I learned quickly how things move around. Oh, let me pay this one under the table, or let me do a favor to this one, or this and that. I'm not stupid. And you are a wolf under sheep's clothing. You have a nice night.
Madam Chairman, if I may, Evelyn, you know, well, I'll put it on the record. She knows I've spent countless hours, if not days, trying to work on her situation. And then when we're told as commissioners that there's a domestic dispute pertaining to someone who lives in our units, we have absolutely no authority to get into what that is. So unfortunately, I know it's frustrating for tenants that sometimes run into issues like this. There's just nothing I as a commissioner or any commissioner could do in a situation like that. So I know Evelyn a long time. I know she's frustrated. I know she's been dealing with this for a long time. But unfortunately, it's just one of those things that takes a long time to resolve because there's a domestic dispute involved. I don't know how long ago it was. I don't know what the situation is because, quite honestly, I'm not allowed to know. No one's allowed to know. Those are the protections that people are afforded when there's a domestic dispute. So, unfortunately, it's a situation that no one's happy about, but we'll continue to do what we can to help our tenants. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. I'm not sure who the next person is. Can you?
May?
Marley?
Maybe.
May.
Is that Mike? Is it Mike?
Okay. Isn't that Mike? Okay, maybe.
I got asked a couple of years ago to be vice president. I come down with
Can I have your name, please?
Yes.
Michael Mulcahy.
And can you spell it? Because she's online.
Can you spell it?
Mulcahy.
Thank you.
I got asked a couple of years ago to be vice president, and I accepted. Right after that, I came down with COVID, long term. I did what I could anyway. But anyway, right now, someone had asked me to be vice president. I said, well, I'm feeling a lot better, and I'm going to do what I can do. That's all I got to say. You know, I'm going to do the best that I can, and we'll see what happens.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hate you so.
Happy Feeney?
Hate you and hate you and hate you.
Hi, Kathy, Kathy, Feeney, Feeney. I live here at Fox Hill. I'm here for 2 reasons. As most of you know, ad nauseum, I'm a journalist. I'm an educated person. And for the children who are growing up in Hoboken housing, I beg you, I beseech you, you've got this thing running. This has nothing to do with Fox Hill, because we're not going to be renovated. We're going to stay the way we are. We live uptown. That's down there. You have this TV that costs a lot of money underneath our stained ceilings. But the thing that gets me is, whoever translated this for you, and you majored in English, Mr. Recco, you've got a tale of 2 cities. You've got the mayor, and the line that goes, tale of 2 cities. I walk dogs for a living. I pet cats for a living. They have tails, T-A-I-L-S. I'm a writer. We write stories. We write tales, T-A-L-E-S. You got here a T-A-I-L of 2 cities. This thing is full of grammatical errors and misspellings. Fix it. Just fix it. This is 2025. This building was built in 1973, my first year of college. I'm only here also, I don't like to come to these meetings anymore because of what happened to me over the summer. By the way, my rent went up because I worked so hard as a dog walker. I'm here for George because what happened this morning as I was going to work, well, actually this too, it came over from Mr. Recco. These are the people who have been elected to the advisory board. George, Muriel, as I know, and some other, a lady, I'm not gonna say her name because I don't want to embarrass her. And who the hell is she? I don't know who this person is. What happened here in Fox Hill, if you don't know, is we had a person who used to be our president, and from the day I moved here, she would ask me every day almost, do you live here? Do you live here? And it really got to the point, and I don't want to be racist, but I felt like saying to her, what, do all white people look alike to you? And one day she told me that the person she lives with saw me down there picking flowers out of the garden. She was rude to me, she was nasty to me, she was mean to everyone in this building. So she's on the ballot, George is on the ballot, she finds out he's on the ballot, she hightails it. Okay, she's gone, ding dong, the witch is dead, we're all happy, we've got George, we've got a new president. George actually wrote an invitation for us to meet next week. And you know what he said at the bottom of that letter? I have never, ever in my life, anything to do with Hoboken housing heard something like this. Looking forward to seeing you. Sincerely yours, Jorge Muriel. This is a change for us. We want this change. But I don't know where it came up with this woman who's going to be the vice president. We don't want her. We didn't vote her in. We don't want her. Mike can certainly be the vice president. We are different. When you've heard me speak a lot about Fox Hill. It is no longer a senior building. But I've changed too. I am now in a building where I fist bump, or I elbow bump people. I've come to know all these people as neighbors. And while I'm not friends with everyone, because I don't have a lot of friends, I keep my friends close, and I work a lot. This is a community. This is an amazing community, and it's totally different than what Mr. Recco refers to as the main campus, which is the rest of Hoboken calls the projects and the hood. This is Fox Hill. There is no reason we should have to live in such an ugly building. And all these little parties and soirees and stuff that you guys do down there, which is so far away from 13th Street, some of that money could be used to paint our hallways. I know that each resident is supposed to be allotted a certain amount of money for events, parties, and stuff. We want clean hallways. We want painted hallways. We don't want frickin' parties. We want things to be right. Now, I don't know who's picking on George or who's bullying on George, but I You know, I don't like to call myself a senior citizen, I'm a baby boomer, I'm a writer, I just got a contract for a book, I work hard. But I am an elder, and I'm gonna speak up for him. And Natalie's doing a great job in the office, and we've got Louis in there, and this building can sing and hum, and we can make this a good place. But stop picking on us, stop bullying us, and that deal where you came up with the $75 if we don't let the bug man in, come on, man. What the F is that? What kind of game is that? $75. Do you know how much $75 is to people like us? That's like $1,000. The other day, I lost $5 out of my coat, and I thought, Jesus Christ, Kathy, what are you doing? You lost $5. Don't do that to us, because you haven't closed up the holes, and you haven't cleaned up. When I moved into my building, it was full of holes, and you all know it took me 3 times and begging and just fighting with people. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let me praise God first, because there's a lot going on in here.
Can I have your name, please, and your spelling?
My name is Sigsby Cheatham, spelled Sigsby, Cheatham as in money. Now, listen, my issue is seemingly facetious, redundant, and petty. I paid $100 to the pet deposit situation for my cat to live here. Cat gone, right? Now, I want my $100 back. This lovely lady here, this lovely, beautiful lady who I love sometimes, told me that the commissioners got to sign my check. Now, who got to sign my check? How many, all y'all got to sign the check, or just one, Barbara? You got to sign, when you gonna sign my check?
Well,
Did you know even?
I'm supposed to go back and forth, but I only get them once a month when I'm at.
Lord have mercy, Jesus.
So I apologize. Sorry.
Okay, now I'm praying to God. I'm praying to God for this here. Right. Now listen. The man told me that there's an opening for a commissioner. I'm not going to mess with it. I live here. I don't want to be turned around and become a commissioner and don't want to do for the people. Look what's going on here, sir. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Several years ago, when I was living in 220 Marshall Drive, I came to meetings, Barbara knows, and I was in the process of taking commissioners to court because of different things that were going on that was against their mission statement thing. I got put out for various reasons, so that shut me down. I came here, matter of fact, funny thing, the lady told me, I talked to who was the manager at the building there, she told me, no, she said, legally you homeless. Ain't that something to tell a man? Wow. But anyway, so I'm here, right? So I don't want to get involved, I'm seriously, I don't want to get involved with the shenanigans and the brouhaha that's going on in this building. I don't want to get involved with it. Because if I do, I was offered a situation in North. They said if I got 100 signatures, they would act upon me taking the people to court. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. All I want is my check. That's all I want.
Excuse me, I hope it's in here.
I think she signed it.
You signed it?
Want me to go through real quick?
But look, I'm going to tell you this here, Ray. I've been living here for like 8 years, going on 8 years. You know, I mind my business, I don't bother nobody. Right? I enjoy living here sometimes, but all I'm saying is that, let me ask the commissioners this, and I'm going to finish with this. What type of legacy do you wish to leave when you leave office? What kind of legacy? What are people going to say about you, positive or negative, dealing with these people here in housing altogether? I pray, seriously, that you leave a decent legacy to when you leave. Well, Rico was a good man. He did such and such and such for everybody. Or he didn't do nothing. What kind of legacy are you going to leave? That's all I ask. Leave a good legacy. She going to leave one. I know that. Y'all have a good evening.
the public portion. Motion to close public
Second.
portion.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Director, before you move on to your director's report, I do have one question regarding the vice president. I know we spoke and we took time to go about how we are picking our president, but how does the vice president get chosen? Because I'm a resident and I have no idea.
So we don't choose the officers, they are voted upon. And when that vote was taken, there was a vote for the president and vice president. And when the votes were...
There was not.
No, there
No,
wasn't.
there was not. So don't say there was a vote for vice president.
Okay, if I'm wrong, I'm ready to be corrected.
There was.
So...
There was a paper door to door, and
Stand up.
I just can't hear who's talking in the back. I just can't hear them.
It's actually Natalia Villafane speaking now. She's the manager.
This is the manager.
Natalie Villafane, Villafane. So there was a flyer, door to door. There was a vice president who ran. Towards the end, she
That's the
withdrew
only
her
flyer we got.
One at a time.
application.
So what you're saying, Ms. Villafane, is that the person that was on the ballot
Yes.
or the notice withdrew.
Yes.
So then my next question is, how did we choose the next vice president?
It was voted upon.
It was voted upon already.
I think what, if you don't mind me,
we did not vote for that person.
I think what the chairwoman is saying is if that person withdrew her name, now there's a vacancy there, how can we fill that vacancy now so that there's representation for the building?
Correct.
Should we, or can we do another vote for the vice president? Can they do it amongst themselves, however that may happen?
So if you don't mind me asking, this person, Devaka Guerrero, withdrew.
That's what she said.
She's saying-
She got the signatures at the time, but then when it came time to take the position,
Okay.
she
I hadn't
removed her
heard that.
name.
So I think we should hold another election.
Okay, there you go,
Fine.
guys.
See, that's the whole thing right now. I'm sorry to say, but this thing here
This was
is
the only
very,
paper
very
that
One
was
at a
sent.
time, please.
And it's
One at a
wrong.
time, please.
And it's wrong. You guys know, this young man here, he did not have that person as the person to be his vice president. That person was with Carmen Vega. And I don't think that it's fair that he has to have someone pushed off on him and they came from another person.
And you're absolutely correct. That's why we are trying to figure this out. And that's what the director said. He was unaware that the person that was on your notice that you guys received had withdrawn. So now he's saying, well, if she had withdrawn after the fact, we will have another election for a vice president. So I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that this individual will have to get his signatures, correct?
Right.
Before we get a vote, right?
The last time.
And then we'll just move forward, and it would be up to you guys, who are the residents, to then choose your vice president. So we're not pushing anyone on anyone, okay? Just so you know, we're trying to make it as fair as possible.
The first time I was vice president, I was not sworn in, I was nothing. She asked me to be vice president.
No.
And they're doing the same thing.
That may
And that may have been the case in the past, but we are trying to do everything on the books. We're trying to do it correct. Again, it was probably a miscommunication where the director was not aware that the vice president had withdrawn. So now it's corrected, and as he stated, we will hold another election for this building for a vice president. I would advise you, sir, that if you want the position, just make sure you get the signatures as required. And anyone else who wants to be a vice president, do the same. It will be a fair vote. It's up to you guys. You just make sure you come down and vote. That's it.
Yeah, just, could you just come up to the mic and do it so the court reporter could get everything?
We've already elected him as president.
And that's fine, you guys elected him, but we need to have it on paper, right? We need to do it formally, just like you guys came and elected Mr. Muriel to be your president, then we will need you guys to, and excuse me for saying Mike, but to elect Mike as your vice president. Am I right, Director, when I'm saying that? Okay. That's it, that's all we need.
Can I have a minute? Sure. The only paper that was handed out is for president. For vice president, no paper has been given out to nobody.
Well, we're
We're gonna
Nobody.
make it
We're
work.
fixing that
We're
right now.
fixing it right now, on the record. So we will have another election for vice president here. Make sure you guys come down and make sure you vote for those that you want to represent you. Okay.
So like that, we have no confusion because
Exactly.
we want Mike anyway.
Okay, and that's
Who
perfect.
wants Mike here to be president?
There you go. Exactly, so all these people that are here, make sure you go down and you vote with your manager.
Just make sure that the procedure's followed, everybody comes down, votes, and at that point, it's over and done.
Yeah, but I find that a little weird that a vice president has to run for vice president when the president should elect the vice president.
That's true, Trump did.
It's true.
Okay, we're not gonna get into elections, but anyway.
That's not, definitely not gonna talk about the
We're
national
not
election.
gonna talk about politics.
That's not
Anyway.
actually how that works, but okay.
But I understand what you're saying, but we're trying to make it as fair as possible. So Mike, you have the support of your residents. Just get your signatures, bring them down. Mr. Recco will make sure that there's another election held, and we will move forward. And you guys will have the representation that you guys want. Okay? Thank you. Closing public portion. All right.
Right, what's on you? So, Mike, listen, I'm gonna give you advice as an elected official. I'm gonna
Get your signatures.
I'm gonna give you the winning formula. I'm gonna give you the winning formula. Identify your votes, get them out to vote, and you win.
Okay.
It's that easy.
So, thank you for those comments, seriously. I just want to remind everyone, I don't, I'm sorry if I missed a meeting, but I didn't hear of a meeting that we're supposed to have. So please, everyone call me. Many people in this room have my cell phone number. It's 201-27... I'm sorry, I'm speaking. It's 201-273-8492. Many people here have it. The manager has it, right? And even if you go to your manager and say, I'd like to meet with Mr. Recco, she will arrange it. So it's not hard to reach me, seriously. So please.
I got my name on the book. You call the vice president.
May I speak, please? So please feel free to reach out to me with any of these issues. We'll be glad to work with you on solving them. As you know, we have no magic wand. We are fortunate. Could we get everyone's attention on the meeting, please? We do receive donations now and then, such as the TV was donated, by the way. We didn't spend any money on that. So, and we appreciate that from many of the people that support us. In my report, I again want to trust that everyone had a peaceful and joyful holiday season. In light of that holiday, my report is a little bit shorter than usual. Could we have one meeting, please? Please? Hello? Please, if you want to have a conversation,
Can we keep the conversations in the hall?
Yeah, so please do. Everyone needs to hear, okay? I would like to take that opportunity again to thank the board for all your hard work, your consistent guidance and support. Really appreciate you. We couldn't do what we do without you, and we can't do what we're going to be doing over the next few years without you. I think 2025 is going to be a truly landmark year for us. We're set up in a lot of ways to move forward quickly. Hello? As we enjoyed the holiday season, and we did, there was a darkness. There was a shooting incident adjacent, but not on our property, over at 4th and Jackson Street on December 19th. It occurred during our staff holiday party. We immediately responded and collaborated with the Hoboken Police Department in ensuring that full access to our cameras was obtained. And assisted the police with logistics.
Guys.
Of door access to roofs and cellars, etc. The police went to great lengths, and I was very impressed to make sure our residents were safe. They had quite a large force down immediately. An arrest of a non-resident was made in that instance, and it was made quickly. I truly appreciate, again, that strong presence and professionalism of the Hoboken Police Department. Take that back, would you? Because it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. You guys are tremendous. Along with Chairwoman Reyes and Vice Chair Seitzman, I did attend the FADA Commissioner training this week. Just got back yesterday. It was particularly important in light of the new administration coming to Washington in a couple weeks. Among other issues covered, the tenants' accounts receivables continue to be a national issue for housing authorities. We're not alone in this. What we are, though, is on track along with national policy on how we're approaching our residents, how we're digging ourselves out of this COVID hole where many, many people did not pay their rent during the process of COVID. And we've worked hard with our residents and will continue to work hard getting out of that hole. And Mr. Merchant will address that a little more in his report. The government, I want to remind you, is currently operating under a continuing resolution that will be passed, that was passed. Another congressional action needs to occur by March. So if you do know your senators, know your congressmen, please reach out to them and insist that public and assisted housing needs to be funded, and it needs to be funded at higher levels. It's very, very hard to run an organization like this when we need $1 and they give us 85 cents. It just doesn't work that way, and it's worked that way for years. So we need to avoid that as the new administration come in. The proposed funding levels for public housing range from 87% to 97%. So they're going to have to come together somehow. The legislature is at 87, the senators are at a proposed 97 funding. And if they do approve that budget in March, we will know our current year funding level by May or June. That is 6 months into our fiscal year by the time we know what budget we can operate under. What a way to run what an operation. Congress was supposed to pass that legislation last year. And we're still waiting on knowing how much money we'll have to run this operation for the year. We did discuss these issues at our Finance Committee in depth. Similarly, the Housing Choice Voucher budgets are uncertain. They are more likely to be passed at a level funding from last year. But I want to remind everyone that level funding does not cover increases in costs. And what is going on with rent levels? Where are we at rent levels and where are we at costs of materials, issues like that. So in many ways, a level funding is a decrease. So those are things we're going to have to watch closely over the coming year and make sure that we're on top of them. We are going to have some major changes in our accounting procedures in the Housing Authority Modernization HHA Act, our RAD regulations, and the HCV program coming up in 2025 and 26. Not all of it is bad news. 2025, 26, we should be looking in the first quarter of some new regulations on the RAD Section 18 program to be published by the end of January, says HUD. Although in the final stage of review in Washington, HUD is recommending, and it's gone a long way down the road now, for an upward adjustment in RAD routes, which would be tremendous for us and help our project immensely. And if fortunate, and if it's approved across the board, an increase in income at Fox Hill. So we are anticipating both of those. So we hope to see those happening this year. On staffing, last meeting I came to you on some changes in staffing. I will be conducting interviews of applicants for the Director of Management position, vacated by the reassignment of Frank. Right now Frank is holding down both positions. The holidays were here and we have some good applications. we'll see what happens from there. We'll be interviewing next week. There is a resolution in front of you tonight talking about the change in position for Emil, and we can talk about that when that resolution comes to the table. A subtext to that new positions, to those new positions, was definitely emphasized at the housing meeting recently, that as we go into redevelopment, we need to make sure we have sufficient staffing on the executive level. It's something that just kept coming up for housing authorities that have been through these redevelopments, that we better have sufficient and good staffing. And I think you've seen where I've gone with that in trying to prepare ourselves for that round. We are going to be hiring a modernization coordinator shortly. We have filled 2 positions this month, an accounting clerk position working for Emil, and we'd like to welcome Adeline Esquez as a needed addition to the finance department, and we have filled the vacant position of inventory clerk as well. Anudi Nunez to that position under the supervision of Sammy Fermaint and Jackie Medina. You will note that both of these individuals have the nickname of Andy, so we're really confused. We don't know which Andy anymore, and they're both new, but they're both very good people. I would like to take a moment for a shout out to Becky Espinoza. Becky, Pat would say hello to everyone. We introduced Becky at the last meeting. So she's taken over our resident services coordinator position, and Sandy Polinas.
Hi, everybody.
And Sandy, who has taken over our public relations and policy specialist. Becky and Sandy have had an introduction to their new duties with the challenges of the holiday season. Sandy, in her first month, has produced a draft of our renewed newsletter. You haven't seen our newsletter for a while, so she's working on that. We expect to have that out in January. She's learning our website and has coordinated with the school system in getting the word out to graduating seniors of an available scholarship through that FADA organization. We have 1 student so far that's applied. Yay. So the word's been out in the high school, and it's not in the bag yet, but we sure hope she gets it. Both Sandy and Becky have risen to the occasion in their short time with us, so thank you, ladies. There really has been little change in the Hoboken Housing Forward update, except some of the news that I just went over with you that may make things easier for us. On the redevelopment front, the city is proceeding with their environmental review, known as Part 58. We are having a meeting coming up, we hope, next week with the HUD National Specialist on environmental reviews and the city and their consultant. So we hope to be moving things along a little quicker on their approvals on that, because we cannot move forward without the environmental reviews on our property. We are finalizing, and as a matter of fact, since I wrote this, we finalized the contract with our firm, Reno and Kavanaugh, that you approved in November, and we're having an organizational meeting with them over the next week. We are all, matter of fact, next Thursday. We're continuing regular meetings with our Enterprise HUD HHA team, and HUD's involved with us step by step. Our contract with our consultant for future capital needs just submitted a revised draft of their plan to us literally days ago. So with the holiday, we haven't taken a look, but we'll be meeting with them soon and hopefully have that to you for review once we're satisfied with it. Contract required on project-based vouchers, both the VASH and signal room occupancy are being submitted by those proposers, some information they're getting to us. They're also going through the Part 58 environmental review study. I am setting up a meeting with both of those proposers within the next 2 weeks. I am very, very intent on pushing those agreements forward, not the least of which because of the possible reduction or level funding of Section 8 assistance over the next year. I will repeat what I said at the beginning. I continue to meet with residents please give me a call. Please set up a meeting with me. We'll be glad to go over these issues with you in my office. Before you get here, we'll have the manager there and try to work on these long before we get to this forum. The Housing for Hoboken crew is meeting on the 28th of January at 7 p.m. In my office or by Zoom. On special capital projects, the defensible spacing is moving along nicely and looks like it should be completed by spring. I think we've gotten some very positive feedback from a number of residents that live along the light rail. And once again, we're putting in fencing adjacent to the light rail behind our properties from 2nd over through 4th Street. And that will give those buildings their own secure areas in the backyard. It will also fence off and have key access to the playground area there along Marshall and along what we call the Horseshoe. And that is being funded through a special security grant that we got from HUD. As part of the special allocation of capital funding for Harrison Gardens, the courtyard improvements are 50% complete. City inspections are ongoing and all work is proceeding on schedule. We would expect that that will get done a little quicker, weather permitting. The major work that's been done is a lot of underground work. We had to dig up sewer lines, we had to replace sewer lines under that courtyard. So we think the rest is kind of surface stuff, so it should go quicker. Hallway and stairwell refurbishment is complete. Punch list is done and should be completed by February. The exterior door replacements at Harrison have been ordered and will be on site by the end of the month. The installations should be done by the end of February, and we're hoping to be able to close out that entire grant in the first quarter of 2025. Again, this was a special allocation just for Harrison. I am enthused to announce that the following projects are being initiated through CDBG. Security upgrades to include gates at the Horseshoe, lighting, playground resurfacing, and of particular interest to me is a new trash collection system for what I call the main campus. We are getting rodent-resistant trash bins there. The old dumpsters will be gone, and we will be moving into a system that you can put trash, recycles, and biodegradables into a bin, and the city's trucks can come in, pick it up from the outside, take it, and it's worked well elsewhere, and we're looking forward to this. We're meeting with the city folks in the next week. On management, management has been consumed, as I mentioned earlier, with tenants' accounts receivable, and Mr. Merchant will be briefing us on tenants' accounts receivable and the basic management report. Frank?
It is with a heavy heart that I must tell you all that we served our first warrants today for removal. So we report to you every month. At the bottom of our report it says awaiting award for possession. It's been lingering at the bottom of that report, those 13. In a sense, it was a good thing that the court allowed the holidays to go by, because we were in court in October, and in the regular course of business, it might have been just right around the holidays. So I'm grateful that the families were able to get through the holidays. But what that brings us is to where we are today, which is we've officially now put notices on doors today. And this is not what we're here for. We're the housing authority. We're here to house people. So this goes completely against the grain of what we do. However, this is a necessary thing that must happen to be able to serve everyone that's here in this room. You guys that are here in the room, you're here because you care, because you pay rent and you do the right thing, right? And you're here because maybe you're not getting the services that you deserve, and maybe you're not getting that because we don't have the funds that we need, because we don't collect rent. So this is intended to fix that loophole that's broken. And what we want to do is we want to get to the point, if we were to collect the proper rent, if we collect our subsidy, it's intended to work so that then we can give you the best services possible. That's what we're working towards, but it doesn't make it any easier on residents, on staff, on commissioners, when next week the court officer is going to be there and we're going to have actual families in front of us that are going to be homeless. Okay? This is probably the hardest thing anyone has to deal with, starting obviously with the families. We have reached out to the city of Hoboken to inform them that, listen, this is coming, because I would imagine families will come to us, they will go to the city. They have given us a great response. They do have a connection through the Garden State Housing Coalition, and there might be the possibility that these families might be able to receive some kind of emergency assistance. So if you are one of those families out there right now and you received a notice on your door, please come to the main office and either see me, or if you can't see us at the main office and you want to go to City Hall, go to City Hall. But just know that, you know, the only way that we can help you is if we talk to you, right? So that's where we are. I'm sorry that I had to start with that. I know that our numbers continue. We have reached a milestone it's the last part of 2024, which was to reach 98% occupancy. That was a goal that we had been working very hard towards. Unfortunately, we knew that once we got to this point, that was going to get reduced by the vacancies, by the apartments that we're going to have to turn over. This is the beginning of the healing process. I hope that any family that's out there right now that's either in a housing authority repayment agreement, court order repayment agreement, that you make your payments, or that you come speak to us. If you do not yet have a repayment agreement, come talk to us. We would be glad to enter into one with you now. As far as our biggest challenge was and continues to be tenant accounts receivable. However, that's not our only challenge. Equally important is your recertification. If you are not recertifying on time, we also get subsidy and grading based on the annual submission of our recertifications. So right now, at the top of the report, in public housing, if I can get your attention to the PIC score, is 91.75.
And that's attachment 1, by the way.
And what that means is that you see below it or above it says required 1115, received at 1023. They're expecting a certain amount of files each month for them to grade us. That we must, and that just shows that families aren't coming in. We have some families that since before COVID just have not come in to recertify. So unfortunately, that is the next wave of families that are going to be going to see us in court. And then just like the repayment agreements for rent, there's going to be an agreement where you must recertify, or that will be causes for eviction. So if you have not recertified, please contact your manager and do your recertification. And that would be very helpful to all of us to not have to go to court, because eventually you will have to recertify anyway. So the formula for public housing is that you're going to always pay 30% of your income. If you don't recertify, we don't have the most current information. And then sometimes families wind up owing money that they don't even know they owe. Because if you didn't recertify for 3 years and we find out that you had a couple of increases or that money started, and now all of a sudden you may have a $10,000 bill that you didn't know you had because you didn't present us your income. So to avoid those surprises and to avoid all that, we ask you to please come in and see us. As the director said, I do understand the frustration that I think there's a disconnect between people say that they can't get us, and we're saying just get in touch with us. The reality is that yes, people do get in touch with us, and because of that, we are on a schedule of meetings. So people come to the office and they want to see us, we're in a meeting. But just please see Liliana, fill out the form, and I promise you, you will get a meeting. It might not be immediate, it might not be in that week or that day, because according to what it is, but please be patient, know that we will see you if you sign an intake form with us. As far as our turnovers and ready apartments, in the month of December, it was slow as far as move-ins. We did have 2 move-ins in public housing and 1 in Fox Hill. The move-out was just 1 on each, but we were able to do some transfers that were very necessary. We continue to do transfers, and this has been a little bit of a pain point as well, because we have been working very hard on the downsizing and the right sizing of apartments. As we get closer to the redevelopment, it is so important that we have the right size families in the right apartments. If you have 2 people in a 4-bedroom, you're gonna have to downsize. If it doesn't add up, we have to take care of it. So I know that that's a lot, but if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Frank. Before I have a comment, somebody, there's noise in the background that somebody's online.
The feedback.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's feedback. It sounds like noise
They're
that
speaking.
somebody's speaking behind them, or they've got a TV on or something.
Director, before you move on, I just want to kind of follow up on what Frank said, because I was CC'd on that email that he sent. So the city is planning to actually refer these individuals to the Garden State Community Development Corporation for affordable housing vouchers and social services. And just a reminder to everyone that today, the 9th, between 3:30 and 4:30, the State Rental Assistance Program, SRAP, opened up online. So it's time now for those individuals who are in payment plans to actually go online and actually apply. We understand that it's a lottery, but you know, if you don't try, it's just another resource that you can have to help you kind of get over this hurdle. So.
Thank you, Andres. And I just want to emphasize a little bit of what Frank said, that we are in the business of housing. We're not in the business of evicting people, and we don't want to evict people. And we took a lot of criticism over time for as long as we've been delaying taking people to court, because we turned over every rock. We turned over every assistance program we could find. We tried to help folks. We're doing long-term repayment agreements. But if a resident does not come in and work with us and doesn't pay their rent over time, you're going to head to court. And I hate to say it, but it's true. At some point, the sheriff comes and locks the door, and you can't get in anymore. And what do you do, right? So I hate that we're at that point, but we must be at that point. In order to run this business, we must collect rent. We don't get this silver lining from HUD of all this money. Rent is an important part of our income, and everyone has their role and obligation. And so please talk to folks that you might know to come in and work with us, because we really don't want to get there. But once we're there, when the sheriff locks out, there's no going back, all right? So we want to get there beforehand. Even on the court date, we're working out repayment agreements with people. And if you have a repayment agreement, please stay up with it. And if you find problems that you can't, come and see us, and we'll try to work something out with you at all times, because we want you to maintain your homes. Okay. Thank you, Frank.
Director, I just want to, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I said today was actually the opening for the rental assistance for the state. Actually, today they had a webinar on how to navigate through it, but the actual date is the 13th. So we have time.
Good.
So.
On maintenance, we are doing a project throughout of painting, stripping, and waxing at each building. We are currently at Adams, and we're about, I don't know, what, a third of the way down, Sammy? You listening? I don't know where you were.
Yes, yes I am.
Yeah, so where are you on Adams?
We're down actually on the 5th floor from the 9-story building.
Okay.
We're painting and going as, you know, floor by floor. We're also stripping and adding the new baseboard system that the building takes. But being through the holidays, you know, my guys being on vacation, it slowed down the process a little bit. But my goal is to finish that building by the end of this month. So the lobby, from the 4th floor down to the lobby, by the end of the month, we should be completed, fully painted, stripped and waxed. And we're also continuing on painting the 3-story buildings as we go with.
Thank you, Sammy.
Yes, you're welcome.
Anything else you want to say about your operation, Sammy, since you're on board?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to get some numbers together to see if it's more affordable for us to do it within house, and so we can continue with the stripping and waxing and keeping up with our buildings. I know we're doing it on overtime and trying to maintain, you know, the daily routine as we go, but we also want to give our residents, you know, a better quality of life so people can walk into the buildings and not see graffiti or anything all around it. So we're doing our best.
Thank you. How's your snow removal practice so far this year? You ready for the big one?
We did very well. We did very well, thank God. You know, we've only been receiving 1.5 inches of snow, but you know, the most important thing is the snow, the salting, which we don't want any slip and falls. I just ordered some more calcium fluoride and some rock salt for the parking lots. Again, you know, we're due for another few inches, hopefully not this weekend, but we're ready to go with it.
Thank you, Sammy. We will, I will continue to ask all residents, if you see a possible danger in any way, ice in the lobbies, slipping danger, please reach out to us. Please call that number of your manager, maintenance, or please call me directly. We do not want anyone slipping and falling during these periods. I think our maintenance department over the past, well, I know, our maintenance department over the past few years has done an excellent job, and we will continue to put a large emphasis on that when we get that bad weather. So please let us know. Sometimes our guys will go through and they do the plowing or they do the shoveling and they do the salt, and then an hour later it's different, right? And they may not see it. So please reach out to us. We'll be receptive to you as we have in the past. In maintenance, I'd also like to note to everybody that at my next meet and greet, which will probably be in the first 2 weeks of February, I would think before the next board meeting in February, we will be having a meet and greet in Fox Hill, and we will be coming to you to talk to you about the Phase 2 renovations that are coming up for Fox Hill. So that's coming. We are now gathering every financial resource we can, but we will be having dollars to spend here on a project spring through summer, and we are going to interface with you at the next meet and greet. So come about what our priorities are, what should be done first, and of course the resident council president, and hopefully by that time a vice president, will have input into that as we go along. So we will be working on that as we move forward. Our finance report in the last finance committee, we told you we would be at the last board meeting that we will be putting our budget actuals in my report. The budget actuals were reviewed at the finance committee. They are attachment 2. But it just happens to be that time of year where we've only got 1 month in it. So it's not really indicative of you know, it's a tough shot with only 1 month. Because if you get 1 or 2 heating bills or not get them, it's going to put up and down the budget for the year. But we are going to be providing this to the board every single month. And we look forward to your input. Anything else we would like to say, Commissioner Edwards, on that topic?
No, as far as the budget is concerned, but I will reiterate what you said, that we are looking in the Finance Committee about funding for Fox Hill.
Yes.
And we've been talking about it now for a couple of months. And I can reiterate what you said, that the intent is to come up with projects to improve the situation here at Fox Hill.
Thank you. We've worked hard on it. As I noted in my introduction, it'll be a challenging year for our finance department. We're aiming at a moving target. We need to make sure we keep sufficient reserves to operate should HUD shut down or have some issues in the future. Going into 2025 with a change in our presidential administration, a new Congress, a new HUD secretary, and the resulting budget and program uncertainty is going to take constant attention to our financial positions in public housing and Section 8. In addition, Finance is working on the Finance Professional Procurement Committee budgets and professional service contracts, Housing Choice Voucher budgets, and contract management and publication of RFPs and RFQs. We have a new resident services report for you, and I am going to ask Ms. Becky to come up and do her thing. But I would like to mention quickly that, as we've mentioned, we did have an election for the new officers. So we're excited about a new team coming on. For our officers, congratulations. And then to our resident advisory board, we're having our first resident advisory board meeting this coming week at 2:21. And I failed to write it down. Do we know what date that is, the RAD board? It's Tuesday?
It's
14th. 14th. Is that Tuesday? Yes. Yeah, it's Tuesday the 14th, 1 o'clock, over at 221. We're going to be having our first resident advisory board with the new folks, so we have a lot of opportunity to do some new things. The RAD board's going to be able to make those decisions. And for example, I don't think it's ever been considered that there should be, if you will, a slate of officers for president and vice president. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's see if maybe next time around that might be an improvement. But that's open, so let's talk about that. And 2025 is going to be such an important year as we move forward with Fox Hill Phase 2, with the renovation moving forward at the rest of our properties. And I renew my pledge to have all our residents, with the leadership of the RAD board, as full partners in that process, so you know what's going on.
Excuse me, Mark. The meeting is at 2:20 Adam.
Oh,
on
2:20
Tuesday.
Adam. Thank you, Jeannie.
You're welcome.
No, I appreciate that. And that copy is there in your board, and on the resident services report, I'll hand it over to Ms. Becky.
Hello, it's Becky Espinoza, E-S-P-I-N-O-S-A. Okay, first I want to start off by mentioning the luncheons, the holiday luncheons. It was a real success. Amy Frank from Hoboken Unified Given, she had 3 different schools come out, and there was choirs, there was a band, the kids handed out food, cookies, they painted pictures for the seniors. It was really, really nice, so thank you to Amy. What else? Winter Wonderland was another success.
It was a fun one.
Yeah, Winter Wonderland. Yeah, it was really cold, but we reached a lot of families, so we're happy about that. We partnered up with Family Hood, the Hoboken Police Department, Fleet DJs. The commissioners came, so thank you for coming, guys. It was really nice to have you. What else? After the Winter Wonderland, we had the post giveaway for families that couldn't get there. We had that on Wednesday, the 18th. Okay. I want to give a special thanks to Hive Athletics, their foundation that donated $5,000 to our family residents. We
need to speak up a little bit. Folks can't hear. So that's good.
So Hive Athletics, they helped out over 25 families here in the Hoboken Housing Authority. We were able to bring their rent down to 0. So there was a couple of there was some guidelines that we had to follow, like the families had to have kids 15 and under. their rent couldn't be more than $500, so we had different rent amounts. So I'm really happy to say that we helped out 25 families before the new year, so I'm really happy about that.
And they contributed 5,000.
We also have a new partnership that we're working on with Computers for Kids. They want to donate computers to kids that don't have a means of getting them. So we're trying to work that out right now. That's up and coming. We have a new president for Christopher Columbus Gardens, I'm sorry. She plans on hosting bingo nights there again, so we're excited about that. Yeah, so that's what I have so far.
Good job, Becky. Thank you.
Director, I think we have a little video of Winter Wonderland.
Oh, that would be great. You gonna show that?
In the Green Day.
Thank you so much. That's the end of my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director. Director, before we move on, I just want to let everybody know, as many of our commissioners know, this past week, Erica, myself, and the director went to a FATA training. And what I must say is that from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., Erica and I were definitely in commissioners training. We learned a lot. We took a lot back. We brought a lot back. There are some slides that we would like to share with you that were on the app, and we will do so, but we got back last night, and as many of you guys know, we have families and so forth. So I didn't have the time to send that to everyone, but I absolutely will send those to you. I also just wanted to kind of just give an overview of what we brought back. I think one of the most important things was our responsibilities and our roles as commissioners. So one of the things is absolutely, and I think we've gone over this so many times, is that our role as commissioners is not to do the day-to-day of the Hoboken Housing Authority. That is up to Executive Director Recco to do so. So Executive Director Recco is the one that answers to us. That's who we should be dealing with. And that is across the board. When I say that, I want to say that this training did not just consist of just a few housing authorities. This is housing authorities across the country. So mostly that's how it works across the board. Another thing, I know sometimes we get upset because we don't receive a lot of the information that we need, or we feel that we need at a certain time. It was kind of eye-opening to Erica and I to hear that most housing authorities actually get all their information for board meetings 48 hours before the board meeting. And that's including financials and so forth. With that being said, they also stated it also depends on what policies we have in place. As we all know, here in the Hoboken Housing Authority, we did put in place a policy where any information requested of the director would require 14 days in advance. So again, I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page about that and that we understood that. I want to say that It was eye-opening to me. I did learn a lot from it. There's a lot that I would like to put down and make notes for you guys so that you guys can also have. We learned about the financials, which I'm so happy and so proud to say that David has almost implemented everything they spoke about at that financial commissioners training. So we appreciate that. Your expertise is appreciated and definitely brought us a long way. So I'm very proud to say that. Erica, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I think it's important to hear that we hear from housing authorities across the country and to know that you're not alone, that a lot of people are facing TARS issues. And the number one issue of not enough housing was clear across, whether it's in the city, whether it's in on the beach, we heard it, whether it's in the farmlands, that everybody's goal is to create more affordable housing.
And one last thing, I think it was the last training that we went to, and I think it's so important, I think Director Recco hit upon it, is that with the new administration that's coming upon us, we have to be our own voices, right? We don't know what's gonna happen. We kept hearing consistently during this training that they are trying to do away with public housing. This is the long-term end to this. So we need to speak up. We need to reach out to our elected officials. We need to reach out to our senators, to our congressmen, to our council people, because these people are all instrumental in getting the word out to those that need to be told what is needed. If they're cutting funding more and more every year, which is upsetting, right? Because we already know how we all live. So with that being said, just guys, I ask you as a resident, as the chairwoman, please, we need to get our word out. We need to speak to our elected officials and just have them fight for affordable housing and public housing, because we don't know where this is going to end.
Again, I'm finished with my presentation.
Okay, Director, Madam Chair, I have questions for the Director. So, working our way backwards here, we just heard from the Resident Services Coordinator, Ms. Espinosa. Would it be okay if I ask her a couple questions?
No, just put them through me.
Okay. So, when were all of these elections? When did all of these elections occur?
The date of the elections, I will ask if anyone remembers the exact date. December 13th. December 13th was when the votes were made.
Okay. And is there a process for how these elections are conducted?
Yes, there is.
Can you share that process with the board and also on the website for our residents?
Certainly. And if I'm not mistaken, it might be on the website already, but we did send out notices to residents. We told them that process. I think we're very, very clear on how these elections were held.
Okay.
Thank you. Glad to send them.
Thank you. So, last set of questions. So, are these the final results, with the exception of the vice president position that was discussed earlier by our residents? Are these the final results?
Correct.
And will the names and contact information of all of these newly elected resident advisory board members be put on the website?
I'm sure it will, and we are meeting with the resident advisory board next week, and they will have some of those decisions on how they want the information disseminated and when they want to have their meetings. So I'd like to have a meeting with them first and do some planning for the coming year on where they want to see this process go.
Understood.
Because it's their group.
Okay.
It's not my group.
Understood. Is there any plans to share the contact information of the resident advisory board with the entire board?
I don't have any plans. I didn't write that down, but again, I would like the opportunity to meet with the resident advisory board and see how they want their information disseminated. But I think as a matter of public record, if you want to have their contact information and names sent out, just send me that request in writing. I'll be glad to provide it to you.
Okay, I will make that request in writing. And one last question. The video that we just saw, is there a digital copy available that can be sent to all the board members?
I think there would be.
Sure. Thank you, Frank. Okay, moving on. So, page 2 of your report, staffing reorganization. There's a subject here that has a resolution, the last resolution on the agenda. I had sent several emails, and just since there were changes to the resolution, I had very little time to review all of those changes and very little time to analyze and then communicate to you, Director, and to you, Council. Have you had a chance to read the emails that I sent for the meeting?
No.
No. In the interest of protecting the authority, may I suggest that we table the resolution? Or take a 15-minute break so that you can read.
If I may, Director, that resolution is on the agenda. The proper time to discuss it would probably be when the resolution comes up.
Okay. Fair enough, but there have been occasions where resolutions have been mentioned in a report, and all board members are free to talk about those resolutions.
Understood, but it results in sometimes duplicative conversation, redundant conversation. So I guess what I'm suggesting is that it's perfectly reasonable to discuss that resolution and maybe even some of the details from the report. But the appropriate time, my position would be when that item comes up on the agenda.
Fair enough, and I am happy to discuss that agenda item during the resolution, so long as there is not an action from any of the board or any of the staff to rush the resolution through and end the meeting immediately, because that has happened to this commissioner before.
Commissioner Stanford, I'd like to respond to that with all due respect. I don't think anyone ever rushes you. I think we give you ample time to ask your questions. We do get these resolutions almost a week ahead of time. So I would suggest that if you have any questions, I would put them down. I think sometimes what happens is it just drags on way too long, and most of the time it's redundant. So we answered the question and it's just asked again. So with all due respect, of course, you are more than welcome to ask any questions during that resolution. We will give you ample time. Just make sure you have your questions ready to be answered.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Moving on. The next page, Hoboken Housing Forward, you wrote, we are finalizing the contract documents to retain the firm of Reno and Kavanaugh for the coming year as you approved in November. Can you remind me again, when did we retain Reno and Kavanaugh?
Well, we retained them, I believe, a year ago for the first year, and this was a re-RFP process. Okay. And in November, the board approved them for another year.
So in and around November 2024 is when we first retained them, or 2023?
I would think so.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So I've already sent a request in writing today. So you'll see that later for Reno and Kavanaugh's invoices and billing and retainer contract. Just a clarification, if you could remind me, next paragraph, our contract with our consultant for future capital needs, the requirement of RAD in section 18 is in process. The consulting group from EJP. Who is EJP?
They're a group of management professionals, management engineering professionals that work nationally that responded to an RFP that we had done quite a while ago. And they've been working with us on taking a look at our properties, doing a plan for where we're going to go for the next 10 years with our capital funds. So they are working on that plan. They are heavily into our concept. And of course, when you start talking about what we're going to do with our capital funds, and I think this is good for everyone to consider, because we'll be working on this a lot this coming year. If we tear down a building and build a new one, it goes over to a different type of funding, our capital fund amounts change. So they are taking a look at our projections over, a little over 10 years actually, on as we do our redevelopment, what are the financial implications of that for our funding flows? And they've got some people on their team that are absolute national experts on housing, public housing and Section 8 funding. And so that gets married with our redevelopment plans and the capital needs that our buildings have. And we attempt to do that 10-year plan that says this year we're going to have X amount, next year we're going to have X amount, these are the things we should be doing. So it's been a lively process with them.
Excuse me, Commissioner Sanford, could I jump in? Because I have a question on this paragraph. So rather
Absolutely, go ahead. I have some more questions, but please, go ahead.
This contract, will that be helpful for us in the discussions we're having about Fox Hill then?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Mr. Edwards.
Well, sorry, I'll repeat that. Would these consultants with their capital needs be helpful for us in the discussions we're having about Fox Hill?
I think it can be mentioned. I think the focus that they have now is, as we all know, we're considering building that first building at Harrison, and then taking down some buildings at Harrison. So Fox Hill will be at a later stage. It's not going to impact in any way what we've talked about for phase 2 of renovations at Fox Hill.
Okay.
If
that was where I was headed.
No, it's not going to have an impact there at all.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Sanford.
So, getting back to EJP, so if you could, so thank you for explaining who they are. Can you elaborate what does EJP stand for?
I don't know. I always call them EJP. You got that, Emma?
No, I never asked.
I never asked either. Their official name is EJP, but I don't know what the EJP stands for.
Doing a good job.
So, moving on. Same page 3, meeting with the director. So I continue to meet with residents on a personal basis through our intake appointment system. I encourage any resident that has an ongoing issue to reach out to their manager or Mr. Frank Merchant. If the issue is not resolved and you wish to meet with me personally, schedule an appointment through your manager's office or stopping by the main office to fill out an intake form.
Excuse me, could you just speak up a little bit louder?
Well, just not to repeat the whole paragraph, I was quoting the paragraph on page 3, meeting with the director. The reason I'm bringing this up is, although I wasn't at the December meeting, there were a number of residents that spoke at the December meeting, and I'm curious if those residents completed an intake form and spoke with you at any time.
As we sit here today, I don't have a track or a census of that. We can certainly take a look.
Okay. There was one resident in particular who had alleged that a person, another resident, had stolen packages and withheld those packages. Are you familiar with what I'm referring to?
I remember that conversation that came up at that meeting, yeah.
Okay. Have you initiated any kind of investigation into those allegations?
We have taken a look at the cameras and to see what we could see. It's very hard to see at times, and we'd have to have a separate conversation with the manager on where they are and taking a look at that.
Okay. Then, considering how serious these allegations are and the potential for this being a crime, I will follow up with you in writing at another time when you have more details.
Thank you.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Stanford, while you were actually asking those questions, I looked up the consulting company. There is no name. If you allow me, because I know you have told the lawyers that you don't want us to email you anymore, but I do have the website if you'd like to provide it to you. Could I email it to you so that you can take a look at it?
You're welcome to email me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Resolution number 2025-0101, resolution of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken to approve the meeting minutes for December 12, 2024 regular board meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Yes. So, this might be a question either for the director, for council, or for our recorder. How do we normally record statements that are made by the public during public comment? Because I'm reading the minutes and it just says public comment.
They are part of our transcript, and they are posted. And the normal meeting minutes, a normal meeting minute is a record of the official actions that the board takes. And during public comment, no official actions are taken. So they are part of the transcript.
Okay, thank you.
Call the vote? Motion.
There's a motion.
Okay.
David Edwards?
Yes.
Anthony Forbes?
not here today.
Barbara Reyes?
Yes.
Gene Rodriguez?
Yes.
Michael Russo?
Aye.
James Sanford?
No.
Erica Seitzman?
Yes.
God bless you.
Resolution number 2025-0102, resolution authorizing the payment of the monthly list of bills for the Hoboken Housing Authority.
Motion.
Second.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Sure.
So, as you're aware, this commissioner has requested some information regarding the list of bills. There have been a number of emails going back and forth since the agenda was first released on Friday, I believe. And I'm summarizing some of our discussions here, but I believe at one point you agreed to provide the board and this commissioner with the invoices and billing for Fitzpatrick and Waterman services in the amount of $6,975. Am I remembering that correctly?
I attached that billing for this bill here to one of my emails to you.
To one of those emails?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I did not see that, but I'll take your word for it, and I'll move on, but I would like to make a motion to remove line item 1 on page 1 for Fitzpatrick and Waterman listed bills from the listed bills.
There's a motion on the floor. Would anybody like to second it? There isn't a second, sorry.
Okay. That's all, thank you.
Director Caldwell?
David Edwards?
Yes.
Anthony Forbes? Barbara Reyes?
Yes.
Gene Rodriguez?
Yes.
Michael Russo?
Aye.
James Sanford?
No.
Erica Seitzman?
Resolution number 2025-0103, a resolution of the Housing Authority to award a contract for landscaping services.
Motion.
Second.
Questions, concerns?
Director or the CFO, could you please explain the procurement process on this resolution.
The bid documents were put out and bids were received. It's our normal bidding process. This is not an RFP, it's a bid process.
And who ultimately from the Housing Authority reviewed this bid and made the decision?
Once we get the bids in, we take the lowest bidder and we make sure with the assistance of the Fitzpatrick Law Firm that they've complied with everything that is required of a bidder in New Jersey and according to HUD guidelines. And once that is done, we take as staff then, we take a look at prior performance. If we've got any negative performance, we check out if they're a banned contractor or not with HUD. And if all of those things check out, we then make the recommendation to this board.
Okay. And what kind of historical records are kept to document the procurement process for this selection?
The bids, the specifications, the paperwork of the attorney and ourselves, this board resolution are all kept for a period of 5 years.
Okay, thank you.
Call the vote, sir.
David Edwards?
Yes.
Anthony Forbes, Barbara Reyes?
Yes.
Jean Rodriguez?
Yes.
Michael Russo?
Aye.
James Sanford?
No.
Erica Seitz?
Yes.
Resolution number 2025-0104, resolution of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken to award an electrical services contract.
Motion.
Second.
I have some questions. Director or the CFO, can you tell me a little bit more about what this electrical service contract is for?
During the course of the year, we have a number of electrical issues that may come up with our aging buildings. So when we get into a situation that we have our old, very old breaker panels that might go out here, there in somebody's apartment, we have a licensed electrician that's at our call, to be able to come in and address those issues.
Is it one person or?
No, it's a company.
So when you say licensed electrician, it's the entire company?
The company is licensed, yes.
And that company then employs, are they their own employees or are they union labor?
They would be their own employees.
Okay. And are those employees a member of a trade union?
We do not know that, and that is not under our bidding guidelines to actually ask that. They're HUD installed prevailing wage rates so that we should be out of the business of asking that. So we do not make that as a requirement for a contractor to reveal that to us.
Could it be a requirement for the future?
That's something we'd have to take a look at with the attorneys, and I'm not positive of that, and I don't know the answer. I think it might be difficult, but we'd be glad to take a look at it. I do know that HUD is very touchy on the national HUD reg of saying that we have to use union labor. Now, there may be some potential agreements that we can do in the future, but that's going to be a tough one, but we'd be glad to take a look at it.
And if I could,
yes, please.
Director.
Yeah.
I don't have the specific answer on the hypothetical, but as you mentioned, I think it's important to emphasize again, not just the HUD prevailing wage rates, but also the state prevailing wage rates. And that's how usually that's addressed to make sure that a fair wage, a living wage is being paid. Bidders always have to comply with both the higher of really the state prevailing wage and the wage rate. So that's how that's usually addressed.
Thank you. Well, and is this the only electrical service contract, or do we have other electrical service contracts?
This is the only one.
This is the only one. Thank you.
votes.
Resolution,
David Edwards,
Yes.
Anthony Forbes, Barbara Reyes,
yes.
Gene Rodriguez,
Yes.
Michael Russo.
Aye.
James Sanford.
No.
Erica Seitzman.
Yes.
Resolution number 2025-0105, a resolution of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken to authorize and appoint deputy executive director.
Motion.
Second.
Just a quick background on this is that I came to you and announced that last month. And as we spoke with our in-house attorney, we went back to the bylaws and found that there was a requirement for the board to approve both the position and the amount of compensation. So that's why we're here tonight with this.
Questions? Okay.
Yes, I have a few questions. So earlier, when I broached this subject, well, first I'd like to actually make a motion to table this resolution.
There's a motion on the table. Would anyone like to second it? Sorry, Commissioner.
Okay, so then I'll proceed with asking these questions. So when this commissioner received the board packet, that board packet contained an allusion to a reference to resolution 2525-01.05. And it was only one page. It had very little detail. And in the body of the email that was received by the board and this commissioner, the resolution indicated that it would be a title change only. So the question is, why is this now a more than a title change? Why is it a 4-page resolution, and why does it include reference to compensation? Because that's not just a title change.
Do you want to go there?
You want me to handle that one? If I may, I believe the reference to a title was the title of the resolution only, that the body of the resolution was not yet available because it hadn't been prepared yet, and the body would be forthcoming. It wasn't referring to the position itself, the title of the position. It was the title of the resolution, which has been done on a number of occasions in the past where there's been a reference to the title only being provided and that the body would follow.
That's an explanation. I'm curious why that explanation was not provided to this commissioner earlier in this meeting.
I never understood your concern about that question. Was it somewhere in your emails?
Yes. Would you like to take a 5 or 10 minute break to read those emails?
No. I'd say no. I haven't seen the ones you said you sent just before the meeting, but I've seen the past ones. And again, if there was anything misconstrued, but I think our attorney has explained very well that was an allusion to the title of the resolution, not to Mr. Kothar-Thara's title. And that's a simple issue.
Okay. Now, as the chair stated earlier in her remarks, most authorities receive information 48 hours before a meeting. The detailed text of this resolution was only sent to the board about 3.5 hours before the meeting.
That's correct.
Can you please explain that time discrepancy?
Sure. I think anytime you're running a business and anytime you're having a meeting coming up, as we work through the issues and we consult and talk and decide how we're going to handle it, we review the job description. This is a new position, right? So we came up with a new job description. I will say we had the holidays this past month. We're away. There's a lot to be done. And by the time we were able to get this together as a vetted, correct process with staff and the attorneys, that it wasn't ready until today. Now, we then have a decision to make. Do we shelve it and wait till next month? Or should I try to get this through the board? This happens on a number of resolutions over time. And I could either shelve this and not bring it to the board, or we could proceed with it. And at this point, my decision was to bring it to the board, even though the backup information wasn't completed until today. The board certainly has its own right to say, no, Recco, you didn't bring it to us soon enough, so we're going to vote it down or table it. It's up to you guys. But I will continue to try to push the business of this housing authority forward, even if it takes a little bit to get some of the final information. Now, I will say that I would not bring a complicated choice of a developer that day. There's no way I would do that. But a fairly simple, straightforward resolution that that you were informed of the position change last month. We've had a lot of information on that. You know, Mr. Kotharathara, you know the need that we have for this position. I didn't find this to be an overly complicated decision for me or the board to make.
I have a question for council, because I do want to continue discussion on this resolution. However, it pertains to the employment of this particular individual. How best can this commissioner and this board discuss this resolution and the concerns that this commissioner has with, in essence, promoting this employee and offering this employee, is it a raise? I don't know.
Yes, it is.
So it is a raise. How can we best discuss that? Because I do not want to disparage the employee or go into any kind of matters that are personnel related.
My advice would be, if there was to be a discussion of the job performance, the appropriate thing would be to, well, there wasn't a rice notice served.
That's right. Correct.
So it would be on the employee, but if you wanted to discuss it, my advice would be to go into closed session. The employee would have the option, and always has the option, to have that discussion take place in open session, which sometimes is to the employee's advantage, that's their decision. But the appropriate thing, if there was a discussion of performance, would be to go into closed session. Or to make a motion to go into closed session.
Commissioner, can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
If it's specifically about performance, I understand that, but if it's just about the position and the compensation associated with the position, would that also be necessary to go into closed session? Or
if you were talking about essentially the overarching position and the compensation and removing the performance of any specific employee from it, I don't see that there would be a need to go into closed session. That's why I drew the distinction of the performance itself.
Yeah, and the only reason I ask is because I don't know where the commissioner's going with this, but if it's specific to just the dollar amount.
I'm sorry, Mr. Russo, I just couldn't hear you that one.
Sorry. If it's specific just to the position and the dollar amount associated with that position, I don't think that we necessarily have to go into a closed session. You could ask those questions, but if it's beyond that, I think it would probably be prudent for us to go into a closed session to do that.
Correct. If you're talking about it as a position and a salary associated with the position without tying it to a specific individual and their performance, open session would be appropriate and totally acceptable. If you're going to get into specifics about the performance of any individual employee, my recommendation would be to go into closed session.
Okay. Then at this time, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session to discuss resolution 2025-01.05.
Second?
I'll second the motion with a caveat of putting a time limit on the closed session. We do this at the council meeting all the time. So before we go into the closed session, we let everybody know it's going to be a 10-minute discussion, 5-minute discussion, whatever it may be. And then when we come back out, we just, of course, let everybody know that there was no action taken in that closed session. So with the caveat that we set a 10 minutes Okay for you?
Can you give me 1 second there, Commissioner, just to refresh my recollection on something else?
Sure.
I'd like to give council and the director a little more time, so how about 20 minutes? I'll stick to 20 minutes.
I don't know if I want to go into a closed session for 20 minutes to discuss.
If you could, just, I may be able to address the issue. Just give me a moment if you don't mind, please.
Matt, if you could just talk into the mic a little bit.
We're just giving back
Sorry,
a
Terry.
minute. A minute, he's trying to.
Sorry, Terry.
make
Yeah,
sure
I
he's
just
in-
want to, I just want to make sure I provide accurate advice. So I may be able to address the Commissioner's question without the need for much discussion.
And I suppose it's too late to propose that we get out of that closed session by the end of halftime of the semifinals. I'm sorry.
Levity is always important.
Matt, are you able to?
The important is
Actually, in this situation, you know what? I do think it might be appropriate, maybe take a 5-minute recess, bathroom break. I can confer with the director before we proceed to make any sort of motion to go into closed session.
Okay, and maybe you can get some clarity from the Commissioner as well as to where he's kind of leading.
Right, and maybe able to help facilitate the
5 minutes work.
discussion. So is there a motion?
Motion for 5-minute recess.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5 minutes.
Yeah, you could cut it for a minute.